Today, we are diving into one of the wildest, most brilliant military operations in all of history, the Siege of Alesia. Seriously, it's a story of pure genius, total desperation, and an engineering feat that is almost impossible to wrap your head around. So let's start with a puzzle, a real strategic nightmare. Imagine you've trapped your enemy, right? You're the hunter. But then, out of nowhere, an even bigger hunter shows up to trap you. What on earth do you do? Well, that's the exact impossible problem that was staring Julius Caesar right in the face. At the very heart of this incredible story are two legendary leaders. On one side, you've got Julius Caesar, a Roman general whose ambition was off the charts, but who had the strategic brilliance to back it all up. And facing him, Vercingetorix. This guy was a charismatic chieftain who did something no one thought was possible. He united all the warring Gallic tribes into one massive army to throw the Romans out of their lands for good. The setting for this showdown is the year 52 BC. Rome has been fighting in Gaul for years, and the whole region is basically a powder keg ready to explode. This isn't just another battle. This is it. This is the climax of a long, bloody war. The fate of Gaul, and frankly Caesar's entire career, is hanging by a thread. So, how did Caesar end up in such a seemingly hopeless mess? That brings us to the setup of the battle itself, a situation where what looked like a brilliant Roman advantage very quickly turned into a desperate fight for survival. At first, everything was going exactly to plan for Caesar. He outmaneuvered Vercingetorix, and he managed to corner the main Gallic army inside their stronghold, the hill fort of Alesia. The enemy was bottled up. It looks like a classic straightforward Roman siege was about to win the war. And we're not talking about a small raiding party here. Vercingetorix had 80,000 Gallic warriors trapped in there with him. All Caesar had to do was wait and starve them out. Simple, right? Wrong. So wrong. Just when victory seemed like it was in the bag, the unthinkable happened. Vercingetorix, it turns out, had sent out riders for help before he was trapped, and they got through. A massive pan-Gallic relief army was on the march. Suddenly, the besiegers were about to become the besieged. And when I say massive, I mean it. This wasn't just a small support force, it was a gargantuan army. We're talking 250,000 warriors marching to smash Caesar's legions against the walls of Alesia. Let's just put these numbers into perspective, because they are staggering. Caesar had about 50,000 men. He was now trapped between the 80,000 Gauls inside Alesia trying to break out and 250,000 Gauls on the outside trying to break in. He was outnumbered more than 6-1. I mean, how could anyone possibly win this fight? Faced with what looked like certain destruction, any other general would have retreated. They would have run. But Caesar, well, he wasn't any other general. His solution wasn't to run. It was to build. He decided he was going to engineer his way out of this impossible trap. First, he finished the job he started. He built an 11-mile-long line of fortifications. This is called a circumvallation. This massive wall faced inward toward Alesia. It was designed to do one thing: keep Vercingetorix and his 80,000 men locked up tight. But then, he did something that was just unheard of. He ordered his men to build a second, even longer wall behind them, a 13-mile-long circumvallation, and this one faced outward. It was built to defend against that giant relief army. Caesar had literally built a fortress to besiege another fortress, with his own army sandwiched in between. It's insane. And these weren't just, simple walls. His legions became a massive construction crew overnight. They built a masterpiece of military engineering, a layered, deadly defense system. We're talking deep ditches, hidden pits with sharpened stakes the soldiers called lilies, and fields of buried iron spikes called spurs. It was basically an ancient minefield designed to shred any Gallic attack before it even reached the main wall. So, with the fortifications done, the Roman army waited. They were stuck in that narrow strip of land between their two giant walls. The stage was now set for the final bloody showdown, a battle that would have to be fought on two fronts at the exact same time. When the relief army finally showed up, the attack was absolutely furious. The Gauls slammed into the Romans from both sides at once. The Romans were caught in a nutcracker, squeezed by Vercingetorix's army trying to break out, and the massive relief army trying to break in. Pure chaos. This final confrontation was a desperate, brutal, multi-day slugfest. On day 1, the Gauls tested the outer defenses and were thrown back. On day 2, they launched a surprise attack at night. It caused a lot of chaos, but it also failed. But on the 3rd day, the Gauls found a weak point in the Roman lines and threw everything they had at it. This was it. This was the decisive moment. And at the absolute climax of the battle, with the Roman lines starting to buckle, Caesar himself rode right into the thick of it. He wore his famous scarlet cloak, which basically made him a giant target. But seeing him there electrified his men. He personally led a final, desperate cavalry charge that would decide everything.
So what was the result of this unbelievable gamble, this incredible feat of engineering and sheer willpower? Well, it was nothing less than a turning point in history, a true masterclass in the art of war.
Against all odds, it worked. The Roman lines held. Caesar's counterattack completely shattered the Gallic assault. When the giant relief armies saw their main attack fail, they just broke. They lost heart and fled. And trapped inside Alesia with absolutely no hope left, Vercingetorix had no choice but to surrender. He personally rode out and laid his weapons down at Caesar's feet. So why are we still talking about this battle more than 2,000 years later? Well, it's a huge deal. Alesia is probably the ultimate example of Roman engineering and siege warfare. It completely crushed the last major Gallic resistance, which paved the way for Rome to conquer all of Gaul. And, of course, it cemented Julius Caesar's reputation as one of the greatest military commanders who ever lived. Which kind of leaves us with one final thought to chew on. Was Caesar's victory at Alesia a stroke of pure, untouchable tactical genius? A feat of leadership and engineering that's never been matched? Or was it something else? Just an act of brutal, single-minded determination to win no matter what the cost? Maybe the real answer is that it was both.